What is up everyone, and welcome to another video on my channel. As you could tell by the title, this is a completely different video in terms of the topic that I will be talking about. So obviously the big thing in the title is DC. And yes, my channel is primarily Marvel content, but I am a fan of both universes, and you can see that I have DC content as well. But in this, I'm going to be going through a DCEU tier list that ranges from Man of Steel all the way to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Before I get started though, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and share it around if you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can, so let's get to it. I also just want to shout out Rezay LaFlame for suggesting this topic for a video. I'm going to be doing another one at some point for the old DC movies, but with this, I'm going to be getting into the Snyderverse as it is. Alright, so I've got the tier list up. Obviously, there's a lot of projects in this series that are, let's just say, not great, but I'm going to be going through all of them, give my brief thoughts on them, and yeah, let's get to it. So we're going to start with Man of Steel, the one that kicks off the entire DCEU. And by the way, feel free to let me know what you think of my takes on this, and share your own take and let me know what your ranking would be. This is my opinion. I just want to get that out of the way. So Man of Steel, I'm going to put in S tier. I know that may get me some hate, but that's my opinion. Man of Steel is incredible. Zack Snyder shapes this universe in a very unique way. It's a very serious, very grounded universe. Superman is going through that whole dilemma of, if I reveal myself, the world is not going to accept me. And I know there's a lot of controversy with the Pa Kent scene, killing Zod, all of that. I think it works well for this Superman. It's what he has to deal with in order to become Superman. His dad sacrifices himself so it protects Clark, so the world doesn't find out about him. And Clark has to make that hard decision to not fly out there and save his father from the tornado in order to carry on what his father just set up for him to do. You know, he just set up for him to still hide and make sure that he is protected. And then with Zod, Zod was going to kill the entire city anyway. He had to kill him right there and then. I know a lot of people get mad at that, but he had to end Zod right there. And yeah, so Man of Steel, action-packed. The dynamic between him and Lois Lane is awesome. Just the world building in general. You get little teases at other things that exist in this universe, like LexCorp and Wayne Enterprises. It's just a huge tease as to what this universe entails and what it could lead to. So Man of Steel is awesome in my opinion. The whole first flight scene is incredible. So yeah, gonna have to put it in S tier. Next up, we've got Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, the poster here doesn't explicitly say the Ultimate Edition, but because that is the version I've seen the most, I'm going to say this is the Ultimate Edition, and I'll give my thoughts on the theatrical afterwards. So this is straight away going to S tier above Man of Steel as the Ultimate Edition. Personally, this is a masterpiece of a movie. I'm going to die on that hill. It's a masterpiece. Obviously, you get much more detail behind the overall plot, what Lex is doing. All these interactions, you get more depth with them. And Zack Snyder, again, expanding this universe to heights that at this point, at the end of this movie, are anything's possible. So in this, obviously, you get the introduction to Ben Affleck's Batman. He's one of my favorite cinematic Batman, and he just embodies that role so perfectly. The whole warehouse fight scene is incredible. Their whole fight together is, yes, it is short, but I think it works for what the story was doing. The whole title, Batman v Superman, in a way, is a metaphor for Batman represents the people, and obviously everyone's hating Superman at this point after the events of Man of Steel, and then Superman represents himself, as everyone has this xenophobic view on Superman. So the title kind of works in a metaphor in a way, but this movie is so good. Just the world building, the action, the score is really good too. You get the first appearance of Wonder Woman in this. Yeah, just the world building in general, the storytelling, it's all so good. And Lex Luthor, in my opinion, is really good in this. I know a lot of people hate him. I think he fits this universe really well. I think he fits the story really well. He clearly is a very genius person and very dangerous too. And it's one I'm always wanting to rewatch. It's obviously 3 hours, but it's worth it. Now for the theatrical cut, obviously it's a huge step down from the Ultimate Edition. There's a lot of details that are missing in terms of the story, what the heck is going on with all of the, you know, things Lex is doing. But I'm gonna have to put the theatrical, if it was here, in maybe a C. So yeah, that is all I have to say about Batman v Superman. Next up, we've got Suicide Squad. This one I'm gonna put right away in D. I've only seen this movie from start to finish once. There's a lot of irredeemable qualities about it, just cheesy dialogue. The characters you can't really connect with. Obviously, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is the standout in this movie. Will Smith as Deadshot was pretty good, but everything else is just so... it just feels out of place. And obviously this movie had a ton of studio interference, so you know, it's not the perfect movie. It's actually not great at all in my opinion. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about Suicide Squad. The action was okay. It's just a very, very flawed movie and not great in my opinion. Next up, we've got Wonder Woman, and I'm gonna put this one in, I'm gonna put it in A. So this movie, really, really good. The only thing that holds it down for me is the third act. I think a lot of people can agree with me on that, with the whole Ares fight, the reveals that originally were going to happen, but they switched it in post-production and they reshot a bunch of things, I think. But getting to see Wonder Woman in the World War I era, I thought was so cool. The whole No Man's Land scene was awesome. Getting to see Themyscira and, you know, that whole environment was really cool. It's world building. I think they did a really good job with, you know, evolving Diana's character in this. I think she's a really good character in this universe. It's a shame where it led to. But yeah, really strong movie. The only thing that holds it down is the third act and some of the, you know, the fight and some of the story with Ares. It was kind of messy at the end, but I think overall it's a very strong movie and the world building is supreme in this. Next up, we've got Justice League 2017, or Justice League. I'm gonna put this one in D. I'm gonna put it above Suicide Squad. Obviously, a lot of people can agree that this is an atrocity to the DC universe and, you know, film catalog. Obviously, this was at first directed by Zack Snyder. He had his family emergency. I'm not gonna get into the details of that because, you know, it's been around for a while, but Joss Whedon, who directed Avengers 1 and 2, came on to finish the project. And instead of finishing it, he just went back, reshot a bunch of things, rewrote a bunch of things, and released this piece of garbage. Yeah, just everything is wrong with this movie. I can tolerate it more than Suicide Squad probably, but it's still a bad movie. And I don't see myself watching it ever again. If I was to do a DCEU rewatch, I'd just skip it over and go to the actual version of Justice League. So yeah, I'm not going to say too much more about that. But yeah, Justice League is not great, so that's where I'm going to have to put it. Next up, we've got Aquaman. I'm going to have to put this one in maybe B. Overall, it's okay. The effects, for the most part, are really good. There's a few like obvious shots that are very iffy. Jason Momoa as Aquaman is, I think he fits the role pretty good. Patrick Wilson as Orm was really good. Aquaman's one of those characters where it's like he was always the joke in, you know, when it was like the 80s or 70s. He was always a joke, and they tried to kind of get him to that, you know, badass quality. I think they did okay with it. It's not the best DCEU movie, it's not the best DC movie either, but it's an enjoyable ride. It's kind of like a turn your brain off movie. You can just turn your brain off, watch it, and then not have to, you know, question anything, because a lot of it is very like out there. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say about Aquaman. Next up, we've got Shazam. I've only seen this movie, I think, once, maybe twice. I'm gonna have to put it maybe above Aquaman and B. Shazam was a character I never really connected with. The movie was okay. It had a lot of heart in it. I can't really say too much about it because I honestly don't remember a lot from it, but The action was okay, the whole family dynamic was really good, but I can't really say much about it. I forget a lot of it, and yeah, it's just Shazam. I don't really connect with him, so yeah, that's where I'm gonna have to put it. Next up, we've got Birds of Prey. I only saw this once. I'm gonna have to put it in maybe C. So obviously the standout again is Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. She's really good in it. A lot of the other characters are okay. Ewan McGregor as Black Mask was really cool. It's a shame they killed him in that movie. I would have liked to see him do a lot more in that role. I thought he was pretty good. And yeah, just I don't remember much from this movie either. It was a COVID movie too, so it came out when, you know, a lot of other movies of this same quality, I guess, were coming out. But yeah, it's okay. It's not great. The action was okay. Some like when Harley's breaking into the police station, I thought that scene was pretty good. But yeah, it's all right. Next up, we've got Wonder Woman 84. Straight away, it's going to D tier. In 2020, when no movies were coming out, this was the only superhero movie that came out. So you could imagine my hype for, you know, this coming out at the end of the year. By the way, it came out on Christmas Day, and I watched it, massively disappointed. I don't have the words for it. It's just not good. Nothing about this is good. It's such a shame that the first one was so strong, and then this one, just much like Thor: Love and Thunder, it crashes and burns, goes down the toilet and shoots back up because the toilet rejected it. It's not good at all. So I'm gonna have to put it in D tier. It's a real shame, but that's where it is. Next up, we've got Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm gonna have to put this in S tier as well. Obviously this is a bit of a commitment. It's 4 hours, but it's worth it. It is the true vision of Justice League. It is the finale to Zack Snyder's trilogy with Superman. Obviously we would have got part 2 and part 3 if he had stuck with Warner Bros. And nothing had happened with his family. But this movie is so good. It has all the character moments that, you know, you get to develop with them. You get time with the Flash, you get time with Aquaman, you get time with Cyborg, who is the heart of this movie. You get time with all of them, and it is paced so well. The 4 hours flies by, honestly, and it's really well made. For a movie that was canceled and brought back to life, and he got to, you know, finish it. It's so well done, and obviously the CGI for the nightmare sequence at the end is rough, but that was because it was developed in post. Zack Snyder shot that without the studio's permission. That's why he's awesome. He kind of went behind their back and included that anyway because he needed to. Really appreciate that. So yeah, getting to see Superman come back in the black suit as well. You get to see Darkseid, the true vision of Steppenwolf. It's all so good. The score is incredible. And yeah, I fought for this movie to release, much like the Snyder Cut, you know, group. I created art for this movie for it to, you know, get released, get the word going, and it worked out in the end. I remember watching that Man of Steel watch party that Zack Snyder was hosting, and at the very end he announced it and I freaked out. That was a good time to be a DC fan, and I'm always going to want to rewatch this trilogy. It's so well made, and it is like DC, I think, at its purest. So that's where I'm gonna have to put Zack Snyder's Justice League. Next up, we've got The Suicide Squad from James Gunn. I'm gonna have to put this under Wonder Woman. Overall, really fun time. James Gunn gets, you know, his comedy in there. He gets some really cool performances as well. Idris Elba as Bloodsport's really cool. Again, Margot Robbie comes back as Harley Quinn. She's really good. John Cena as Peacemaker is good. Just the whole banter the team has too is really good. And I know a lot of people are mad that he took a huge tonal shift from the Snyder movies, but I think it works. It's a huge, you know, it's a different step in the DC universe. Obviously there's a lot of characters in this, and he really does make you feel for some of the most like F tier, you know, villains in this universe, like Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man. Like Polka Dot Man is in this in a pretty big role, and he works really well in it. So I think the whole dynamic they have, the comedy, the action, the whole scene when Bloodsport and Peacemaker are kind of showing off how they're killing all these different soldiers, I thought that scene was really well done. And yeah, just a really fun movie. That's all I can really say about the Suicide Squad. Next up, we've got Peacemaker. Now, I'm gonna say I started the show and I never finished it, so I'm gonna have to leave it down here. I remember it was okay. It wasn't like it didn't really hook me, so I'm gonna have to leave it down there just because I had never finished it. I don't have a complete opinion on it. So yeah, that's all I can say about Peacemaker. Next up, we've got Black Adam. This one I'm gonna have to put in probably C tier above Birds of Prey. Obviously, it's got the superhero action, like the true superhero action, that's really good. Hawkman, Dr. Fate was really cool. Atom Smasher and Cyclone were okay, but Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam was pretty good. It's one of those movies that obviously Dwayne Johnson was, you know, developing so much more with this universe. He was taking the creative reins from everyone else and was kind of guiding it in his own direction. And he sets a lot of things up that went nowhere, like the Superman post-credit scene. That was the last time we'll ever see Henry Cavill as Superman, and it led to nothing. I think it should have been Zack Snyder's Justice League as the last time we saw Superman, but it is what it is. The story was okay. The villain was bad. There's a lot of annoying parts in this, like the kid. Just the action stands out for me. Just a lot of, you know, punch him across this city, go like, you know, toppling buildings, stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool effects in it. It's just there. It's one of those movies that exists. Next up, we've got Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I also have never seen this, so I'm gonna have to leave it down there. I did not hear great things about it, so I didn't watch it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to leave it there. Next up, we've got The Flash. This was really weird because leading into The Flash, everyone was saying this is the greatest superhero movie ever, and Tom Cruise said it was one of the greatest movies he'd ever seen, apparently, allegedly. But after seeing it, I was like, yeah, this is a good movie. After rewatching parts of it, I was like, what was I thinking? This is not great. So I'm gonna have to put this in C, probably. Oh man, probably here, above Black Adam. The Flash had so much potential. It had a lot of heart in it. Obviously, they brought back Michael Keaton. He was okay in it. Sasha Calle as Supergirl was good, but again, a lot of it was short-lived. They're introduced and then they're just offed basically right away. Ezra Miller as the Flash was okay. He was much better in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really don't know why. Like, obviously Andy Muschietti, who directed this, is doing the next Batman movie for James Gunn's DCEU. If this was his audition for that, I'm really cautious about what he's doing with Batman. I hope it's a lot better than the Flash. But yeah, just some of the CGI obviously was like, wow, like how rough that was. Like, there's a whole lot of issues with this movie. Some of the action was okay. Getting to see Michael Shannon back as Zod was really cool, but again, short-lived. It's just it's a messy movie, and it's a shame that the DCEU almost ended on this note. In my eyes, this is the true end to the DCEU. Aquaman 2 can, you know, just piss off. But yeah, The Flash is gonna go there. Next up, we've got Blue Beetle. I'm gonna have to put this one top of B. This was a really enjoyable movie. Obviously, this is the first character that will carry on into James Gunn's DCU. I think Joel Mereduena was really good. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. I think he was really good in the role. He embodies it so perfectly. He's like perfectly cast in it. The whole family was really good together. It really pulls at your heartstrings. And just the action was really good. The villain was not great. Susan Sarandon as Victoria Cord was not good. Carapax was okay. Again, though, just the family aspect stands out. It is a family movie. It really pulls at your heart, and it's just really well made. It's a very simple coming of age for, you know, this guy that He's a normal guy. He just graduated from school, and he's given this ability, this power, this, you know, responsibility, and he has to do some good with it, and it works really well. It's almost like a kind of like Spider-Man origin in a way. I really like this movie. I think going forward, I think Blue Beetle's one of those characters that is going to be a very special part of the DCU. I really hope they maintain that kind of quality with him. So I'm gonna have to put it in B. It's just a really fun movie. And next up, we've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm gonna have to put this one in C, probably right here. I didn't want to see this movie because I knew it would be a waste of time, but I watched it anyway just to see what it was. And it was a waste of time. Black Manta gets some cool moments, but he's not actually Black Manta. Arthur and Orm, their whole thing was okay. The plot was just kind of, it wasn't great. The writing was bad. Some of the lines just did not land. The humor was just, it was all over the place. The effects were really bad. It's just a mess of a movie, and that's where I'm gonna have to put Aquaman 2. I'm not gonna say anything more than that because I can't really. It's a shame that the DCEU ended on this movie. It's just a real shame. So that is my tier list. I'm gonna scroll up so you can see the bottom part. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do for the DCEU. So yeah, that's all I've really got. Yeah, so that is my ranking of the DCEU. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and share it around. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know what you think of my rankings. Let me know what your rankings would be. Let me know what you think of my opinions on these movies. Obviously, there could be some hot takes in there. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.